A cold wind slices across the forest line as the camera drifts toward a lonely railway track. Snow crunches like breaking glass under heavy boots. A train groans to a stop, its metal echo rolling across the clearing. No names. No voices. Only breaths, fast, tight, unsure. The door slams open, and a wave of pale morning light spills inside, cutting across faces that have not seen sunrise for days. The air feels wrong here. Thick. Heavy. Like the ground itself remembers what happened the night before. Guards watch from the shadows, their silhouettes sharp against the trees. A dog growls once, low and steady, as if warning everyone that this place is not what it seems. Some of the prisoners expect labor camps. Hard work. Harsh rules. Others fear something worse, stories whispered in dark corners of the trains. Stories of camps hidden in forests where life ends faster than a single breath. Two names rise in the back of every mind, Buchenwald and Sobibor. One is a factory of forced labor, grinding people down over months. The other is a silent trap designed for death within minutes. But right now, no one knows which gate stands at the end of these tracks. Only that the trees stand still. Too still. And the chimneys, barely visible through the mist, leave a thin, dark line drifting across the sky. Then, just before the first prisoner steps down, another train whistle screams from somewhere deeper in the forest. A warning. A sign. Or the beginning of something far worse. Mud splashes beneath hurried footsteps as a second scene fades in, Buchenwald. The camp rises like a grey fortress on a hill, wrapped in smoke that never settles. Prisoners move in tight lines, stumbling through the gate marked with cold iron letters. Guards shout orders, not with rage, but with a strict rhythm that feels almost mechanical. Every motion here has a purpose. Every mistake has a price. Above them, chimneys rumble like distant thunder. The smell of burning coal mixes with damp air. Work squads march past wearing thin uniforms, their eyes fixed on the ground. Nobody looks up. Nobody wants to see the towers watching them from every corner. Cut, fast, to Sobibor. The change is striking. No tall walls. No stone buildings. Just a quiet clearing deep inside endless trees. Sunlight slips between branches and lands on narrow paths leading to wooden barracks. The place looks peaceful at first glance, too peaceful. A sign points toward baths. Another toward processing. Even the guards here stand quieter, their movements smoother, as if hiding what they know is coming next. But the forest around Sobibor listens. It remembers the engines that roar at dawn. It remembers the smoke that rises not from chimneys, but from deep inside the trees. Two camps. Two designs. One built to grind people down slowly. The other built to end them the moment they arrive. And yet, right when the difference seems clear, a new rumor spreads among the prisoners. Not all who enter Buchenwald survive long, and not all who enter Sobibor die within minutes. A truth that twists the path forward. They did not arrive at the camps as faceless monsters. They arrived as organized units, trained, shaped, and conditioned by an institution that demanded obedience above morality. The SS Guard system was a machine built for one purpose: efficient, industrialized domination. And every man and woman inside it had a role to play. Inside this hierarchy, power flowed downward with brutal clarity. At the top stood the commandants, calculating administrators who blended bureaucracy with barbarity. Beneath them, officers and block leaders enforced discipline with a mixture of cold precision and opportunistic cruelty. And at the base were the rank-and-file guards, sometimes young, sometimes painfully ordinary, yet armed with absolute authority over people who had none. Training drilled out hesitation. Indoctrination filled the void. Recruits were taught that mercy was weakness, that prisoners were enemies, and that violence was simply system maintenance. In classrooms, in drill yards, and in carefully controlled propaganda sessions, guards learned to follow orders without question, and to view suffering as an expected outcome of their duty. For female guards, the path was different but no less lethal. They were pulled from civilian backgrounds, secretaries, shop assistants, farm girls, and shaped into overseers who patrolled with dogs, whips, and hard, practiced indifference. Many embraced the power. Others slid into it, step by step, until cruelty became routine. But within this machine, fractures existed, moments where individual choices broke from the script. Some guards hesitated. Some resisted quietly. Others committed acts that would follow them through the war, and into the tribunals that awaited. Because every role in this system, every command, every silence, every raised arm, would eventually be brought into the light for judgment. It did not happen all at once. The descent was gradual, incremental enough that many guards never recognized how far they had fallen until there was no humanity left to return to. What began as strict discipline, as maintaining order, as the cold efficiency expected of an SS guard, slowly hardened into something far darker. And with each passing month of the war, the boundaries of acceptable force stretched, then snapped entirely. The pressures were immense. Prisoner numbers surged. Supplies dwindled. Fear of Soviet advances pulsed through the ranks. Commandants demanded results, and Berlin demanded even more. Orders became harsher, punishments more severe, and the line between policy and brutality blurred until it vanished altogether. Guards who once carried out commands with mechanical detachment found themselves encouraged, sometimes explicitly, to escalate, to intimidate, to break the spirit of those under their control. Peer pressure played its part. A guard who showed softness risked suspicion. A guard who hesitated invited ridicule. Within this closed world of uniforms and reinforced dogma, cruelty became a form of currency, a way to prove loyalty, to survive scrutiny, to climb the internal hierarchy. For some, escalation was a choice, a voluntary embrace of the power they wielded. For others, it was a surrender to the environment, a slow corrosion of conscience under the weight of expectation and fear. But regardless of motive, the effect was the same. Each act, each threat, each punishment, each tightening of control, further entrenched the system's brutality. And as 1944 turned into 1945, the moral collapse inside the camps mirrored the collapse of the Reich itself. The machine was accelerating, careening toward an end that none of its architects could avoid. By the final year of the war, the camps were no longer clockwork machines of terror. They were collapsing worlds, fractured, frantic, and unpredictable. The cracks that had once been invisible now spread like fault lines through every layer of the system, and the guards who had once marched with polished certainty found themselves navigating a landscape ruled not by order, but by fear. Rumors traveled faster than official reports. The Eastern Front was disintegrating. Entire battalions were vanishing. Whispers of Soviet vengeance crept into the barracks at night. Guards spoke in hushed tones about what had happened to units overrun in Poland and East Prussia. The once unquestioned shield of the SS no longer felt unbreakable. Panic settled in, thin but constant, like a cold wind blowing through every corridor. Inside the fences, chaos took on a different shape. Prisoners sensed the weakening grip of authority. Sabotage increased. Resistance networks grew bolder. Some guards responded with harsher discipline, lashing out in a desperate attempt to reassert control. Others withdrew, suddenly cautious, reluctant to draw attention to themselves or to create witnesses to their worst acts. The chain of command faltered. Orders contradicted one another. Supplies ran dry. Guard towers were left unmanned for hours at a time. The once precise routines of roll calls and inspections dissolved into irregular, frantic gestures toward a system that no longer functioned. And in the middle of that turmoil, individual choices became sharper. A guard might look the other way, or lash out violently. A prisoner might risk everything to escape, or cling to order for survival. Every action felt amplified, every moment unstable. The camp was no longer a controlled environment. It was a fuse burning toward an inevitable explosion. The end did not arrive with a single trumpet blast or a dramatic final order. It came in fragments, radio signals cut mid-sentence, frantic dispatches from fleeing units, the distant thunder of artillery creeping closer with every sunrise. And as the Reich buckled under the weight of its own monstrous ambition, the camps became islands of desperation where guards and prisoners alike braced for the unknown. For the SS guards, collapse brought a strange mixture of resignation and defiance. Some prepared escape plans, burning documents, trading uniforms for civilian clothes, hoping to vanish before judgment arrived. Others clung stubbornly to regulations that no longer mattered, barking commands into the void as if sheer force could hold back the tidal wave of advancing armies. And a few, isolated figures driven by ideology or terror, made what they believed were last stands, performing acts of violence meant to prove loyalty even as the world around them disintegrated. But collapse also revealed unexpected moments of humanity. A guard who had once enforced rules with iron precision might quietly unlock a gate. Another might allow prisoners to shelter from gunfire rather than drive them into chaos. In these blurred final days, moral lines shifted unpredictably, and decisions were made not by orders from above, but by fear, instinct, or the faintest flicker of conscience. When liberation forces reached the camps, American, British, Soviet, they encountered the full spectrum of this unraveling system. Some guards surrendered immediately, exhausted and broken. Others attempted to hide among prisoners. A handful fired the last pointless shots of a lost war. But nothing could stop what followed. The world had arrived at their gates, demanding answers, accountability, and justice for everything that had been done inside those fences. In the days after liberation, the camps did not fall silent. They echoed, first with disbelief, then with testimony, then with the heavy machinery of justice grinding into motion. Allied investigators walked through the ruins of a system that had thrived on secrecy and command obedience, now laid bare for the world to witness. Piles of documents, abandoned tools of punishment, and shattered routines formed the backdrop for interrogations that would shape the understanding of the SS Guard Corps for generations. For the guards who survived, the aftermath was swift and unrelenting. Some insisted they had only followed orders. Others claimed ignorance, or fear, or duty. A few confessed openly, aware that their actions could not be disguised beneath the rubble of a fallen Reich. Military tribunals, the best known of them held at Nuremberg, scrutinized every role within the system: commandants, officers, male and female guards, even civilian auxiliaries. The question was simple, but devastating: what did you do when you believed no one was watching? Sentences varied. Some faced execution. Others received long prison terms. A number slipped through the cracks of post-war bureaucracy and rebuilt quiet lives, their pasts whispered about but rarely proven. The legacy of SS Guard units did not end with the last verdict. It seeped into post-war memory, academic study, survivor accounts, and the collective need to understand how ordinary people could become instruments of extraordinary cruelty. And yet, within that legacy lies a warning. The camp system was not merely the product of ideology, but of obedience, pressure, and the slow erosion of moral boundaries. Remembering that truth is essential, because every generation must face the same question. How quickly can humanity fall apart, and what must we do to prevent it? The story doesn't end at the camp gates. It continues in the way we choose to remember, to question, and to confront the uncomfortable truths that still echo through our world. If this documentary has drawn you into the shadows of history, if it has made you pause, reflect, or look at the past with sharper eyes, there's more to uncover. This channel is built for those who want to go deeper. For viewers who believe history is not just a series of dates, but a map of choices, some courageous, some catastrophic, all worth understanding. If you'd like to follow these stories further, join us. There's no pressure, no hard sell, just an invitation to keep exploring the chapters many prefer to leave closed. If you know someone who should see this, a friend who loves World War II history, someone who values honest storytelling, share the video. Conversations like these grow stronger when more voices enter the room. And above all, remember, these events were real. The people were real. The consequences were real. Nothing here is dramatized, exaggerated, or softened. This is history as it happened, documented, examined, and preserved so that it is never repeated.